Yeah, you get nice. Oh. Okay, music in this video will be Les Brown and his band of renown playing Gershwin. Okay, hello, good evening. Good evening. I would like to welcome you to our show tonight. Today we have guest. Hello, it's... And I had a little idea that I'm going to do, and it's going to be fun. And it's a little bit of a genre challenge where I'm going to be making songs of different genres in 1 week. And I'm going to see if I can do it. And I'm going to record myself. And I'm using the website albumoftheyear.com. It's like Rate Your Music, but it's more modern and the platform is much more beautiful and accessible. So you could go in there and you can see critic reviews and user reviews, and it's really helpful. It's introduced me to a lot of really cool albums, and you can see like best albums, you can see must-hear albums, you can discover new stuff, new releases, lists of best and worst albums made by critics and by users. It's really cool. But they have 200, if I counted correctly, they have 296 genre tags, which is a lot. And so I have a random number, say something.
It's gonna be 27.
And I'm gonna generate it, and I'm gonna count, except it's in alphabetical, so I'm not gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna go 1, 2, just because that makes me feel better. Because if it's like 7, I'm like, I know it's A, but it doesn't really change the probability. It just makes me feel better. 267, and I'm gonna have to count. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You can just count them. Okay.
Yeah, but
Should I just name random genres? Deep house.
Stop.
Britpop.
Stop.
Bossa nova. Modern classic.
13,
You counted progressive pop twice.
No, I didn't. No. I didn't.
No.
Even if I counted it wrong, that's just part of the thing. So this is 8th 20.
This is including
That's
human
the
error.
8th. This
so
includes human error. That was the 8th 20. 20. Traditional pop. 6. And the genre is, my friends, the genre I will be making is none other than grunge. Some of you may be asking the question, what is grunge? Well, grunge is a genre that most everyone watching this is probably familiar with because of the band Nirvana. Nirvana is known as the most popular grunge band, and there are also very other popular groups around that time like Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Mudhoney, countless others. And it was a movement that started in the late 80s in Northwest America, Seattle area. And many people say the father of grunge and the kind of the first real grunge band was the Melvins. But why does grunge exist? Why did people make music like that? The answer to that question is 3 letters, MTV. Now everyone knows that even Nirvana was on MTV, and there's been a whole lot of wonderful videos on MTV. But what I mean by that is everyone who liked rock music started to hate rock music because it was commercialized. In the 80s, you had hair metal, you had a whole lot of people who would do stuff just for money. You had punk rock in the late 70s that started turning into a normie thing, as some people would think. And so grunge music was when punk rock was revised into something a lot sludgier, a lot heavier, a lot dirtier, and it hit the radio. So what I'm gonna do when writing grunge music is I'm gonna think of it from a very punk rock standpoint. I'll be re-listening to some classic records because, go music. So yeah, I'm gonna have fun. Okay, so as I've been thinking about it and going over things, I'm realizing just how cathartic so much grunge music is and how it's just that kind of energy. So I decided I'm just gonna detune my guitar randomly and then play something, and I'm gonna have to involve that in my song somehow, some way. That'll be exciting. So, thanks to a good friend of mine named Ben, I have a guitar cable because I needed one. So now I can make this bad boy electric and use my amplifier, which is a karaoke machine. I just asked my good friend Tim to play some drums, so I'm waiting on that. Tim is in the band Arrow 404 and CZYK. You should check them out because they're cool. Change of plans. Tim isn't playing the drums, but you should still listen to those bands. I'm gonna try to play the... I've never been one for lyrics really, but I've been looking through lyrical themes of different popular grunge songs, and one thing that I see is pretty prevalent is power struggle. These songs take on power struggle, whether it be rich and poor, class struggle, man and woman, barber and Barbie. So I'm gonna try to involve some of that. Confession time. What I wanted to do in 1 week has now turned into 2 weeks. I have a lot of excuses, but none of them are really worth it. I started hitting a whole lot of lyrical, musical, and emotional blocks that I didn't push through fast enough. But I am done, and this was mainly an exercise in songwriting and in opening my musical palette. So the recording and the production are not very good. They turn out more muddy than sludgy. But good news, in these 2 weeks I've been able to delve into what grunge meant and listen to a lot more stuff than I would have in 1 week. I'm so happy I did this because there's some music that I just kind of forgot about. I never really understood the Pearl Jam craze until I listened to them, re-listened to them. Their first album, 10, is very popular, and I had known quite a few songs in it, but on re-listen, it is really good, straightforward rock and roll, which is always my favorite. But then, if you go further in their discography into like Yield, Versus, some amazing songs and a whole lot of diversity that I like more than their like metal, straightforward stuff. Their live concerts, I've heard from many people, are super good, and from all the videos I saw, I really understand why they're one of the biggest bands that came out of this scene. I'm still not a huge Melvins fan, but that's just preference because they do write really good hooks. And albums like Houdini and the one with the swan on them, sludge masterpieces. I don't know why I forgot about how good Smashing Pumpkins are. Siamese Dream is one of my favorite albums now. Their first 3 albums are all very, very good, but they developed a different sound than a lot of other grunge people. A lot bigger tone, more shoegazy. I remembered how much I loved Nirvana's Bleach and how every single one of those songs I remembered super well once I heard them, and every single Nirvana album is great. They never made a bad one. Insecticide has some slow moments if you count it, but amazing music. One that was completely new to me is Live Through This by Hole, which had a lot of Sonic Youth influence when I listened to it. That's what I took from it. But very good female lead singer, which is something that not a lot of popular grunge albums have. I tend to like the punk-oriented grunge stuff more than the metal or classic rock-oriented. A lot of grunge bands were influenced by classic rock, Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, Lynyrd Skynyrd, people like Blind Melon, Pearl Jam, definitely you hear that. You hear it in Screaming Trees, which their album Dust is extraordinary. Alice in Chains' Dirt, I'd listened to it before and I still don't love it, though there is some really good songs in there. I'm more of a Jar of Flies guy because that is a beautiful album. No Excuses is one of the most intricate and beautiful drum parts I've ever heard, and it's not flashy, it just fits so tight. So yeah, this whole genre, this movement is still really impactful for music today. The reason why all your favorite, teen dramas in the 2000s have main character's older brother running away to join a band, or even the fashion that you wear, ripped jeans or something that was a part of, the grunge fashion, which is still very popular. So much of pop culture was influenced by the grunge movement. That being said, it was not the only important movement happening in rock music in the 90s. There's a lot of really classic and good albums in the indie rock, title, which is also a very vague genre name. But a lot of these indie rock bands came out of the same area and the same era as grunge music. You get people like Pavement, Sleater Kinney, Modest Mouse, and countless others that led to, other groups and tons of other different genres. You also had a whole lot of classic punk or rock people who were doing lots of cool stuff during the 80s but gained a lot of popularity because grunge brought a lot of rock music into wider audiences, like Sonic Youth, Dinosaur Jr., Henry Rollins, most popularly known for Black Flag. And in different parts of America and around the world, post-rock was brewing. In the UK, you had Britpop and shoegaze that was coming up, along with alternative rock legends like Radiohead, PJ Harvey. PJ Harvey can very closely be linked to grunge music. She has a very grunge sound, and if what I've heard is true, Kurt Cobain was a big fan of PJ Harvey, which makes sense. If you've never listened to her, please do. One of the most important female rock icons in rock history. One of my favorites. There are tons of books and interviews and documentaries that talk about 90s rock music much better than I do. I'm just kind of talking to myself at the moment. But if you're interested in diving into the grunge genre, it's definitely worth the dive. If you're a rock fan or a metal fan or just a fan of music in general. Ask a friend or ask me or go to a forum online or read a book or something to get you started. Or just take a leap of faith and buy a random album and hope that it's grunge music. Anyway, I've learned a lot about how I mentally work a little bit more in the last week. I'm always learning. So next week is going to be an actual week, and it's going to be a lot more tight, and hopefully I'll learn from whatever genre it is. There is a link below if you want to listen to the song on Bandcamp. So thank you. I hope you might have learned or enjoyed the scenery and the bad editing of this video. Mwah.